All right, let's talk about something you've probably used 1,000 times without ever really thinking about it. We're going to unravel the surprisingly epic story of the humble paperclip. Seriously, think about it. What if the most genius piece of engineering in your office is that little loop of wire? It does its job so perfectly, so simply, that we just don't even register its brilliance. And that right there is what makes it a masterclass in this idea called invisible design. And the paperclip, it is the undisputed king of invisible design. It's just so good at what it does, it basically disappears into its own function. But to really appreciate how great it is, we've got to go back and see the world that was just desperate for it to be invented. So before the clip, it was chaos. The Industrial Revolution created this absolute mountain of paperwork, and the old ways of holding documents together, they just weren't cutting it. Not even close. For hundreds of years, you basically had two bad choices. You could use ribbons and wax seals, which, looks cool and it's secure, but it's super slow and totally permanent. Or you could go with the common straight pen. Yeah, it was cheap and fast, but it came with some serious problems. It poked holes in your important papers and, as one writer perfectly put it, led to a lot of bloodied thumbs. The world was crying out for a hero. So, in the late 1800s, you get this explosion of inventions. Dozens of people are all trying to create the perfect paper fastener. But the story of the clip that we all know and love today, it's not some simple tale of one brilliant inventor having a eureka moment. No, it's way more tangled and, honestly, way more interesting than that. Okay, so let's walk through this messy timeline. In 1867, a guy named Samuel Fay patents a wire clip, but it was mostly for attaching tickets to fabric. Then, sometime in the 1870s, the iconic gem design, yep, the one on your desk right now, just sort of appears in Britain, anonymously. And here's the crucial detail. The gem design itself was never patented. Then you get to 1899, this huge year. An American, William Middlebrook, patents a machine to make these gem clips really fast. And at the same time, a Norwegian inventor, Johan Valler, patents his own, totally different design. And Valler's story? Well, that's where things take a really fascinating turn. So if the gem wasn't patented, how did it take over the world? This is the real secret sauce. It's not just about a single aha moment. It's about being incredibly clever. First, the design was just better, and because it was unpatented, anyone could make it, free for all. Second, Middlebrook's patented machine meant you could pump them out for next to nothing. And third, and this is a genius business move, a company called Cushman & Dennison realized they couldn't patent the object, so they trademarked the name, gem. They owned the brand, not the design. And that's what let it become the absolute standard. Now, let's go back to Johan Valler, the Norwegian guy from 1899. His actual invention? It was a total bust, a commercial failure. But his name was about to become the center of this incredible story about national identity and wartime resistance. I mean, if you look at the tech, Valler's clip just couldn't compete with the gem. The gem's double loop design uses torsion, like a spring, to create a really secure grip. Valler's clip didn't have that inner loop. It was flimsy, a pain to get paper into, and it was way more likely to tear your documents. It was, a flop. So that makes you wonder, right? How did this worst design become a celebrated national icon? The answer came during World War II. After the Nazi occupation of Norway banned all the usual patriotic symbols, Norwegians were looking for a secret way to show solidarity. And based on this mistaken belief that the paperclip was a Norwegian invention, they started wearing them on their lapels. It became this silent but incredibly powerful protest, a symbol that they were all bound together against their occupiers. And the myth just became way more powerful than the truth. Today, in Norway, you can find a giant monument and a postage stamp that both honor Johan Valler as the inventor of the paperclip. And here's the kicker, the absolute supreme irony. Both of them show the superior gem clip, the one he didn't invent. The symbol had completely, totally taken over the facts. But the story doesn't end there. In our modern world, where we use less and less paper, the clip has found a new life. Actually, it's found several new lives, both in the real world and as kind of a digital ghost. One study estimated that most paper clips today aren't even used for paper anymore. A straightened out clip is the perfect tool for popping open a SIM card tray, hitting a tiny reset button, or unclogging a spray bottle. People use them as emergency zipper pulls, jewelry clasps, and, famously, one guy, Kyle McDonald, started with a single red paper clip and, through a series of trades, actually ended up with a house. A whole house. But its biggest second life isn't physical at all. It's on our screens. There's this design concept called skeuomorphism, where digital things mimic their real-world counterparts. And the paperclip's shape, it became the universal icon for an email attachment. We probably see the symbol of a paperclip way more often than we see the real thing now. It's the perfect little bridge from our physical past to our digital lives. Of course, we can't forget that not all of its digital adventures were, successful. You remember Clippy, right? That animated paperclip assistant from Microsoft Office? It was designed to be helpful, but its constant interruptions, it looks like you're writing a letter, made it one of the most hated, most reviled digital tools in history. Poor Clippy. And then we get to its wildest chapter yet. The paperclip has now been immortalized in philosophy as a pretty dark warning about artificial intelligence. It's called the paperclip maximizer. It's a thought experiment where a superintelligence has one simple goal: make as many paperclips as possible. So, trying to be efficient, it eventually decides the best way to do that is to turn all matter, including us, into paperclips. It's a pretty stark reminder about unintended consequences. So from a simple office tool to a powerful symbol of resistance, to a digital icon and even a philosophical warning, the paperclip has held together so much more than just paper. It's bound together history, identity, and even our biggest fears about the future. Which just leaves you with one final thought. What other amazing stories are hiding in plain sight in all the other invisible objects sitting all around you?